Hi everybody, in this set of videos we are going to show how you can handle REST API JSON based requests of a nature that you're not normally aware of while reusing code in the migrated code and just doing it. So let's assume that we've got the following request for our customers. Dear software house, please allow us to submit/update an order using REST API JSON based service in the following format, and that's the structure that they would like us to use. We didn't come up with that structure, they came up with it and they want us to do it like this. How do we tackle this problem? You know, big words like REST API and JSON. Well, we're going to use the tools that we know. We actually covered most of it in previous articles, such as creating classes based on JSON and updating the database based on POCOs. So we're going to use the knowledge that we've gained from these two articles and try to build it all together. For this demo, I'm going to use the web demo project from the web tutorial that many of you have already used. So let's start. The first thing we want to do is we want to create an endpoint that when we'll call it, will perform the job. So I'm going to go to the home controller and I'm going to add another method, public action result, and I'm going to call it submit order. And I'll start by even returning a simple string and I'll say return OK. I'll build my project. I'll go over to my browser. I'll go to the URL /home/submit order, and hopefully I will get OK. Yes, perfect. So this is how we create the endpoint we want to use. So to set up the endpoint, all we needed to do is create this method in the home controller, and we set it to return OK, like we've seen in the browser. Perfect. Now we need to receive a complex data model, not just parameters. We actually need to receive a parameter of the data model that the customer have described. So let's go back to our Word document and we'll just copy the JSON objects that the customer has provided and switch back to Visual Studio and use a cool feature called edit, paste special, paste JSON as classes. And this will create two classes for us. One for the root object with order ID, customer ID, shipper, and details. And if we look back at our JSON object, we can see that we have order ID, customer ID, shipper, and details. And the details is a list of objects that contain a detail object for each. Let's rename them to give them normal meaning. Let's call this one order info and order items. Perfect. Now to receive them from the browser, all we need to do is say here order info, the order. Cool. So now that we have all of this configured, we need to see how can we get the browser to send it to us. Now normally when somebody would use the browser to send it to you, they will use it from JavaScript and that kind of code. To test it, we'll use a tool called Postman. So here we go, here's Postman. And I can create a new request. I'll copy the URL from the browser that we've just used and place it here. Now before I do anything, let's just make sure that I've built my project. So I don't want to make any mistakes over here. Great. And if I'll run get, if I'll run the request to this URL using get, I will get OK. Perfect. Now we're going to use post to submit this request. And we're going to use a format. The content type of our request is going to be content type application JSON. That's how JavaScript will send you this kind of messages. And in the body, we will paste in the JSON that we had before. We're going to go over to the Word document, copy it, and paste it over here. I'm going to send it, and we've gotten the result OK. Now let's see that we actually got this object. So to do that, I'll switch back to Visual Studio. I'll add a breakpoint over here, and then I'll run it in debug. Go back to Postman, click Send again, and when I'll be back in Visual Studio, we can see that we received the order. We can see we have the customer ID, the order ID, and the shipper, and we have all the details. So that's it. That is how simple it is to create an endpoint that receives complex data. The basic two principles that we've used over here. First one is we created an endpoint. Second one is we created classes to represent the JSONs that we've got. Okay, and we learned how to do that in our video, creating classes based on JSON data. Okay, that explains exactly how to do that. In the next video, I'm going to show how to update the database accordingly, pretty much based on this one, but I want to wrap it all into one single coherent concept. So, just to recap on our version control, to change the submit order to actually receive the order object, we created these classes using paste.json as classes, and we set them as the parameter over here. Now that we have the data reach our .NET code, we can start playing around with it, and pretty much the next thing you want to do is update the database. So let's go ahead and start writing that logic. Now, first of all, I prefer business logic not to be on our website project. Rather, I would like it to be in our domain project, in our Northwind orders. So I'll add a class over here, and I'll call it update a database based on submit order. Just a random name of a class. I'll make it public, and I'll add a run method for it just to organize everything. Great. So added the update class. Now our update class is in, let's just unpin this. Our update class is in our Northwind orders project, and our request itself is in the web demo. Now I want to use these classes in both projects. So what I'll do is I'll copy these two classes from the web project, and I'll paste them next to our update database based on submit order class. Okay? So I pretty much moved these classes from home controller to update database based on submit orders. So let's first of all build this one, see that it works. Perfect. And when we try to build our web project, we're going to get an error saying that it cannot find order info. Well, previously order info was in this class, but now it's in Northwind orders. So we'll say over here, using Northwind.orders. And we'll make sure that we have a reference to Northwind orders, which we do. Perfect. And it builds successfully. Great. Now we want to call our update database on submit order. So we're going to say new update database based on submit order dot run, and we'll send it the order. Okay. And we'll ask it to generate a method like that for us, and it did. So now we have a run method here that gets the order. Now just to see that it's all working fine, let's rebuild. And let's put a breakpoint over here. Run it all. Go to our Postman, send this request, and go back to Visual Studio and get the information over here. Perfect. So now we got it in our logic project, in our what we called Northwind orders project. Let's have a look at the changes that we had to do. So we removed from our home controller, sorry, let's review the changes we want to do. We removed from our home controller the POCOs, the order info and order item, and moved them to update database based on submit. And we adjusted the run method to receive the order as a parameter. Great. Moved or created, no, moved the data to the logic layer. Cool. Now what is left is to update the data to the database. Now we have an article about that. We can see it here, updating the database based on POCOs. And we're going to do pretty much that. Okay, so we'll start by defining the orders table. And we'll say orders.insert if not found, the order ID bind, not the order, sorry, orders.order ID bind equal to the order ID. Okay, so we're going to search for an order ID with the IDs that we received as a parameter, and if there isn't one, we're going to create a new row, and then we can update the information. We can say orders.customer.value equals the order.customer. Perfect. So we are updating the column with the values that we received from the web. And let's do the same over here. Orders.customer.shippers ship via dot value equals to the order.shipper. Okay? So if you've done everything correctly, at this point in time, we'll be able to see that the update actually updates. Let's just rebuild first the web demo project. And have a look at our data API. Okay, I'm going to choose to look at orders. I'll ask it as HTML just to make it easier. Perfect. So we got all our orders over here. We can see that order ID 10249, the ship via is 1. Perfect. Let's go over to our Postman project. 10249, let's change it to 7 and send a request. We've got the result of OK. And when we'll refresh this data, we'll see that it was updated to 7. And again, return it to 2, and we'll send it, and we can see that it was updated as 2. Next, let's update the order details. Let's say that for each order in the order.details, okay, we're going to define order details and say order details.insert if not found, where order details.order ID bind equal to the order.order ID. Let's just, this is going to be long, so I'm going to break it into a few lines. And order details.product ID bind equal to the order.product, the order, sorry, not the order, not detail, let's call it item. For each item in details, I'm going to say item.product ID. Perfect, and then we'll tell it to update, saying that order details dot quantity equals to item.quantity, and we forgot to set the value over here, and order details dot unit price equals to item.unit price. And again, we'll rebuild the web demo and run this. We'll go to Postman, update shippers to 3, send, and we've got our OK. And if we go to our browser, we'll be able to see that 10249 was updated to 3. And if we'll ask it to show us the order details, let's have order details over here. Let's say where order ID equals 10249, Great. Let's change the unit price to 46. So we'll go to Postman and change this one from 42 to 46, send it, and we'll refresh that API and see that it was updated. So that's it. That's the through and through way of exposing a REST API, getting a JSON objects in a format that you're not aware of, and updating to the database. I really hope you liked it.